3 slips. Siraj to Khawaja, edged and gone! Straight into the gloves of KS Bharat. Khawaja's gone for a duck. First blood for India. It's 1 for 2.
Well, Usman Khawaja is not very convinced that it did hit the edge of his bat. He's just having a little chat with David Warner, and now he's walking off. There was the noise. It wasn't very loud, but it sounded like bat. Mohammad Siraj uses the angle of the crease so well. We've seen him do that in England before. Just didn't do much. Oh, the wicket just slanted away from Usman Khawaja enough. Maybe he'll look back at it and say, could I have left that alone? But he hasn't, and India draw first blood.
It's a mighty celebration from the Indians here at the ground.
All part of the fun, but it does get better to bat here, that's for sure. Shami away from us, starts his 7th over, first of the session.
And he's through him! What a ball that is! Through the gate, knocked over.
Marnus Labuschagne has been castled for 26. And Shami, after the break, has made a massive breakthrough.
And the length is different. He's pitched it up. It's a beauty. Absolute beauty. It's nipped back off the seam.
His head back on strike. In comes Thakur, and this is just punched off the back foot beautifully. Lovely bit of timing there through the covers, and that races away for 4. As it usually does here at the Oval when you play square and there's those practice strips all the way across the pitch. But even with that, what a piece of timing that from Travis Head, and what a lovely way to bring up a half-century for Travis Head. 52 from just 60 balls. Started off like a steam train, had to slow down and be a bit more watchful in the last few overs. But again, wonderful innings from him. 9 boundaries in that 52, Harsha.
And he timed it so beautifully because he's beaten the quickest fielder in the world. Well, in the eyes of some, but quickest fielder on this ground at the moment. He's beaten him into the boundary with just a tap, really. It's been a wonderful innings, this.
Shami into Head again, who pulls away. This time does get it past that fielder at short mid-wicket. Runs through for the single and brings up his 6th Test century. It's been a fabulous knock here in trying conditions early on. But 100 from just 106 balls, 14 fours and a 6. And he gets a hug and a punch of the gloves from Steve Smith down the other end, kisses the Australia badge on his helmet and raises his bat first to his dressing room and then all around the ground. Fans from both sides on their feet applauding this effort. And it has been fabulous to watch.
Well, it was at this ground 4 years ago when Justin Langer took Travis Head for a walk around the ground before the last Ashes test and told him, look, we're going to leave you out of this test match. You hadn't scored enough runs. He returns 4 years later and tells the world why he is a special player.
Siraj to Smith, 1 away from 100, and he'll get it from the second ball of the day. Back-to-back boundaries to start. An emphatic start to day 2 for Stephen Smith. Out towards the deep mid-wicket rope. Up comes the lid. Gives it a kiss. Waves his bat to the pavilion. Back at the ground where this remarkable ton machine first clicked into gear in 2013. It was here in South London where he struck his first Test 100. And now he's earned the right to salute for his 31st. Playing his way, doing things on his terms. And along with Travis Head, putting his side in the strongest of positions in this World Test Championship final. As Siraj approaches Head, 3 men back, short ball down the leg side, something on it, he's gone. Head's been caught in the trap. Siraj set him up. Great captaincy from Rohit Sharma, having a plan and sticking to it. And Travis Head was always going to keep taking on the short ball, but he feathers Siraj down the leg side. KS Bharat, an easy chance, pouched. And it ends a monster partnership. This pair putting on 285 of the best.
Averages in the 90s. This is edged and taken. What a catch that is by Shubman Gill. At second slip, Cameron Green going for the big booming drive. Shami gets the breakthrough. And listen to the noise around the Oval. It was a short stay at the crease for Green. A short of a length delivery, just rising a little bit extra, catching the top of the bat. And flew towards Shubman Gill's head. Cummins in to complete the over into Rohit. He's wrapped on the pads. Big shot for LBW, given straight. Richard Illingworth had no doubts about that. finger went straight up. Australia think they've got their first breakthrough. Rohit in discussions with Shubman Gill as to whether or not to review it, perhaps for height. A shake of the head, his bat is under his armpit, and he's making his way off the field. India 30 for 1.
Don't ever underestimate how difficult this must be for Shubman Gill. He's looking at his captain down there, and essentially he's telling his captain, even though he's standing wide, the bowler's bowling right arm over, he's standing on the other side, and he's probably just judged on height. And he's got to tell his captain, no, I think it might have gone on and hit the stumps. But this is a huge moment in the game by probably the best bowler to right-handed batsman in the world game at the moment. And one captain has sent the other back.
Holland, and again, and he's bowled him! Shubman Gill shoulders arms, this one just nips back enough to rattle the off stump. The bails come flying off, and Shubman Gill looks down at the pitch like a confused man, but he's on his way back for 13, and Australia removing both openers.
And he'll look back at that, Nikesh. He'll look back at that and say, how big an error of judgment was that? Because it's not nicked the outside of the off stump. It's nicked the inside, almost middle. But we were saying exactly that about Scott Boland. A little bit of this and a little bit of that, a little in, a little out. And that is good enough to cause the doubt in Shubman Gill's mind. And it can be extremely disconcerting for a batter when he's going back to the crease to see the response from the crowd. Everyone's applauding. And he's just got to tell himself, no, that's for the guy coming in.
Green bowls 3 slips, and he's bowled him! Pujara's watched it onto his off stump. That is quite the delivery from Cameron Green. 2 of India's top 3 are gone watching. 3 for 50, they're in all sorts. Pujara was leaving alone on the basis of line, but that's come back a long way. Cameron Green's first professional game in England. That is an absolute beauty.
Told you it could be the masterstroke from Pat Cummins. We were surprised when we saw Cam Green at the top of his mark right after the tea break. Attacking the stumps again. Pitch slightly outside off stump, but jacked back a long way, hitting top of off. We thought Scott Boland had bowled the ball of the delivery. Cam Green might have just done a little better.
Lyon round the wicket, Jadeja. It's a first slip and he's gone. Oh, Nathan Lyon, you can always rely on him. Jadeja, just when he was changing the energy of this test match, he lunged forward at a delivery that caught the edge, might have kissed Alex Carey's gloves on the way through, and Stephen Smith, safe as they come at first slip. A big moment in this test match via the arm of Nathan Lyon. Jadeja dismissed for 48 from 51. India now 5 for 142 and in strife all over again. Nicely bowled.
Beautifully. I mean, it's taken the outside edge straight. It's the kind of dismissal Jadeja would love to produce if he was a bowler. And much like Steve Smith earlier today, it has taken him an eternity. He just stood there and said, what has happened here? It's that moment when you hear the alarm clock and he said, no, that was in my dream. I'm going to switch it off again. And he hoped it hadn't happened. And the new batter is already at the crease. Jadeja still hasn't left the boundary rope, whereas it's exactly the opposite. Several times the batter's crossed the boundary rope and the other person's still just coming down the steps. He thought he'd set himself up for a big score. This is a huge wicket for Australia because India were just starting to have a partnership going.
In the first county game, got a 50.
Umesh again, Labuschagne edging and taken at first slip. Umesh Yadav has got the early breakthrough. India were craving. Labuschagne just hung the bat out there, a little bit of movement off the seam, enough movement off the seam, and it ballooned up to first slip, and it was taken with ease. Jadeja last ball is kicked away, bowled him off the pad. Jadeja sneaks one through. It hit the pad, it trickled into the off stump. Green's gone for 25. Jadeja might have just opened this test match up again. 2 out on the offside behind point. Shami bowls, that's the swing, and that's the direction that Cummins is hoofing it. It'll be taken by Akshar Patel, though, running back with the flight. The swirling breeze meant he got into position quite early, and that will be the declaration as well. So Cummins holds out for 5. Australia 8 declared for 271.
which will mean that India require 444 to claim victory in the World Test Championship final. Alex Carey did a fine job. 48 in the first innings, 66 unbeaten in the second from 105 deliveries. And Cummins 5 from 5, the last man out. 444 for the target, and we'll work out in a moment what that will mean in terms of overs. So left today 49.3. They'll take 2.3 off that, which leaves 47. They'll lose about 7 of that for the slow over rate, which means 40 plus 90. Well, there it is, 130 overs.
Scott Boland continue here. He's into Shubman Gill, who edges, and it drops just short of Green. Does it? No! He's taken it! Leaping low down to his left. What a grab that was! The big buckets come out, and the umpires just want to discuss this one to see if it carried into Green's hands cleanly. He's claiming it. The Australians already celebrating that wicket. The Tobin brothers' funerals, celebrating lives. The umpires have reviewed this, so let's have a look.
No more soft signals. Cameron Green pulled off a stunner to his right in the first innings.
Best angle for the catch, please.
He looks very convinced that he's pulled off a stunner to his left in this innings. What a grab that was. Went very low to his left. Like Nikesh called it, it did look like it was going to ground. Here is the replay.
Dying on him, wasn't it? Hit the top of the bat. It goes into his hand. Did he drag it along the ground? Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. The Indian fans are convinced that it went into the ends of his fingertips. He held on to it. He then hit the ground. Did he drag the ball onto the ground while taking that catch? There were cheers when they saw the initial replay. There were boos trying to suggest Cameron Green is claiming something which wasn't clean. I don't think we can tell conclusively from this angle. Let's have a look from a different angle. We're looking from behind Cameron Green now. So initially does really well just to get to it initially. I'm not sure. I mean, they always look a little bit worse for the fielder when you see these slow motion replays.
And more and more replays. And I think it's very important that there's no soft signal anymore. So it's completely up to Richard Kettleborough what he makes of this.
Getting another look from front on here. Well, I think he's suggesting fingers underneath the ball.
Yeah, he is. And
the crowd are cheering. They keep seeing these replays, the Indian fans, and they keep thinking that the ball has touched the ground. But what Richard Kettleborough is saying is that he thinks the fingers are underneath the ball. I think he's ready to make his decision on the big screen.
Okay, and then that's not going to show me much, actually. Take me back to the first angle you showed me, please.
So now we're looking at the first angle again. We've seen it in real time. We've seen it in almost fast-forwarded time as well. And now we're seeing the slow-mo replay from front on once again. From a low-down position at mid-wicket, the camera is zoomed in.
Fingers underneath the ball there.
Well, his fingers underneath the ball, so I think this is going to be bad news for Shubman Gill and for India. He's rolling through just to make sure that Green didn't then lose control of the ball, which he didn't. Almost lost control of his trousers there. Coming down, halfway down his backside. He won't be concerned about that after taking a blinder. Decision pending up on the big screen. And wait for the reaction. Cheers initially turn into boos. Shubman Gill is on his way back. Controversial, and Rohit Sharma extremely unhappy with that decision out there in the middle. The Indian captain slapping his pads with his bat. His hands are out to his side, saying, how can you possibly give that out? How can you possibly suggest that there was enough evidence to say Cameron Green took the catch?
Pavilion end into Kohli on 3. Space 7 balls. Delivers here, Kohli. Nice shot through mid-wicket. That's great timing. Out to the lock Laker, and it's a boundary. His first 4. Just in the slot for that clip. It was still on line from Cummins, so some degree of difficulty, but Kohli looking good for his first 10 minutes or so at the crease. And that front line bowls, and Kohli down the ground with panache. Flick of the wrists, straight enough to beat Khawaja at mid-on. His third boundary, 15 from 17. Already moving through the gears, the former captain. 3 for 109, India.
As Boland goes full and Kohli flicks this away just in front of mid-wicket. Beautiful shot, lovely timing. It races away for 4. And another boundary to the man they call the king. Third one of this innings for him. End of another over. India 3 for 116.
I thought of it that way before. Stark bowl short on the hip. Finds a gap. Nicely played. Marcus Harris, the sub, has no chance. Kohli's up to 30. The crowd are involved again with that boundary, his 4th. Stark's got 3 catches behind the wicket to Kohli, his old nemesis, who clips him away out towards the Lock Laker stand. Beautiful shot. That's Kohli's 5th boundary, up to 35 from 47. He's moving through the gears and they're inside 300 of victory. Last ball for Stark. Pavilion end, 2 slips the gully, bowls here and he drives again. That's sublime from Kohli, out towards long off. The crowd rises 1. He didn't move a muscle. Contact with the ball, turned around, marked his guard. Takes India to 3 for 150 at the end of the over.
Okay, for that Ashes series, as this one is flicked round the corner by Virat Kohli down towards fine leg for 4. Lyon just going a little bit shorter in his length, allowing Kohli to move offside and bring up another boundary.
Boland up, Kohli on 49. Edge and taken! Stephen Smith at second slip. Dives across. It's a screamer. Boland gets the huge wicket of Virat Kohli. And Steve Smith, he's made an art form of diving to his right. Scott Boland, the man who Australia can always depend on. And what a moment on the final day of this World Test Championship final at the Oval. Scott Boland gets Kohli.
Scott Boland take a bow. It's been an outstanding spell of bowling to a world-class batter. He's got him second guessing on so many occasions on what to play and what to leave alone. He's changed his length around. Virat Kohli has been plonking his front foot forward. And this one was fuller, slightly wider. He dragged him out. Outstanding catch from Steve Smith, but full credit to Scott Boland. He's worked him over, and he's given Australia a big blow.
Boland here, Jadeja's second ball. It's as well! Boland gets 2 in 3 balls. Jadeja caught behind for a second ball duck. Australia on a roll. Scott Boland the star. India 5 for 179. They are working them over.
How can you keep this man out of this playing 11? What a bowler, Scott Boland. Just got the big wicket of Virat Kohli. This time going around the wicket straight to Ravindra Jadeja, who does have the tendency to feel at deliveries outside off stump. But that was quite the delivery.
Gorgeous. The shape. We're seeing it on the replay for Tyre Power. End of financial year sale. Angling in, shaping away, kissing the edge. The stuff you dream of as a fast bowler.
Lyon fires one in quicker, wraps him on the pads, Thakur, and is given. Umpire Illingworth put the finger up pretty quickly. Shardul Thakur looks down the track. Bharat jogs over to him. See if they're going to review, and he goes straight upstairs anyway. He may as well. He's the last batter in this lineup. Ball pitches on off, straightens, hits middle, and will be hitting middle. About 3/4 of the way up. So as plumb as you're going to get, really. And Richard Illingworth knew that straight away. Raised the finger, and will be doing so once again. There you go. So Shardul Thakur on his way. Australia now 3 wickets away from becoming World Test champions.
Round the wicket, reverse sweep from Siraj, and he doesn't beat backward point. Scott Boland takes the catch to secures the World Test Championship final for Australia. The culmination of 2 years hard work, from Lahore to Galle to Indore, now back to London, losing just 3 test matches through that stretch. A side that's gone to the next level under Pat Cummins, and a legacy-defining trip couldn't have started any better. Mission accomplished. World Test champions, Australia victorious by 209 runs.
The culmination of a wonderful chapter for Australian cricket and the coronation of the Pat Cummins era. Remember, it was at the start of this World Test Championship cycle that he was thrust into the captaincy role when he least expected it. Won Australia the Ashes, won Australia famous series in Pakistan, and now he's won them their first ever World Test Championship. That's what Australia do. They win world titles. They might take their time, but they finally get the job done.
And they get the base handed out to the World Test champion Victor. New Zealand the first time around, Australia now. India defeated in both finals today by 209 runs. Their target of 444. There was so much scoreboard pressure after they lost Kohli and Jadeja in the space of 3 Scott Boland deliveries. They were on a hiding to nothing. Then Lyon and Stark went to work, and, well, the rest is history. Phil Long?
We've mentioned it a couple of times over the last few days. The scoreboard to our right there with the 4 scores at the bottom. That 469 is the real outlier, isn't it? It was a 250, 300 wicket.
And you would just think, as a result, the player of the match award goes to Travis Head. What an innings that was when you look back to how he broke the game, the conditions. 3 for 76 Australia at a dangerous position with the ball doing all sorts. He just makes one of the greatest hundreds you'll ever see in a big match.
Yeah, the foundation on day one, going to stumps at 3 for 327. You're spot on, Phil Long. That was the difference. The partnership of 285 between Stephen Smith and Travis Head. From there, the Australian bowlers. It was fitting that Scott Boland takes the catch to finish the job, given the work that he did earlier today. And indeed, the work he did on afternoon number 2, picking up a couple of wickets and giving Australia that belief they could roll India cheaply in the first innings. And so they did. And really, despite the hope that India came here with this morning, Australia bossed most of this test match.
The margin of victory really reflects how far ahead Australia have been for large periods of this test match, pretty much after the first session. Pat Cummins, thank you so much for speaking to SEN Test Cricket. First ever Australian captain to win the World Test Championship. Has it sunk in yet?
No, but it feels amazing. Great reward for the group over the past 2 years where we've played a lot of fantastic cricket.
And just about that journey, you take over as captain at the start of this cycle, and then just the Ashes to start with, and those tough tours, going to Pakistan after all those years, Sri Lanka, India. So does it feel like a culmination of some sorts?
It does. To make a test match, final, it's not just winning at home. You've got to be successful on away to as well. And we had a great series of Pakistan, Sri Lanka, good test win in India. They all count. So it felt like we richly deserved a position in the final, and to get it done, awesome.
And there are many heroes for you during this game, but just the innings that Travis Head played. Now, when you look back and put it into context, it feels like that's where the game really was broken.
Yeah, it does. We lost the toss, and it was a pretty sticky day there for the batters to be batting first day. Overhead conditions, tinge of green in the wicket, and the way Steve and particularly Trav went about it, put the pressure right back on the Indian side. Really special knock. He's played quite a few of them over this cycle. He's a special player.
Another special player who stood out for you this morning, Scott Boland. Overnight it looked like India had some sort of momentum. Virat was batting really well, so was Ajinkya. But just to knock over Virat after that spell, what was it like just standing in mid-off and watching him do that?
Scotty's the best. I think, Trav and Scotty, my 2 favourites. I don't know how I could pick between them. Scotty just gets better and better. He just takes those important breakthroughs. I thought he was fantastic all game. Kept control of the run rate, always looked threatening, and got his rewards this morning with 2 wickets in an over.
And there have been few test matches during this cycle, Pat, like especially the ones in Pakistan and a few at home, where you as captain had to make some strong decisions, whether it was in terms of declaration or how long you wanted to bat in the first innings. And when you get a result like that, does just personally feel good, just as captain?
Yeah, it does. It's certainly not all me. We've got an amazing coaching staff and players, and it feels like there's 100 little moments that we won at important times that make the difference in the end. Last cycle we just missed an over rate and that cost us. So it's all those little moments that add up, and you look back, particularly that Pakistan series, that was a fantastic win.
And just as a bowling attack, the way you guys bowled in the first innings, and even yesterday, there was a little scrappiness here and there, but did you feel like everything just fell in place and all of you just found rhythm at the right time today?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I think we weren't at our slickest at times, whereas today, when it really counted, we all got to work and, bowled well. Looking at the data, I think our good stuff was still good. We probably just let, that one boundary ball in and over, which we normally don't do. So not too worried about it, and I think we got there in the end.
You came to England with 2 missions. One you accomplished, you're World Test champions. Do you give yourself a day or so to just soak this in, celebrate it before you start thinking about the Ashes?
Yeah, that's it. We'll savour this, let it soak in for a couple of days, and it's been a 2-year journey to get to this final. So we'll sit around, share a few stories, I'm sure, over the next day or two before we switch on a little bit closer to the first test.
What was it lifting a mace up after winning a world title?
It was a bit different, actually. I didn't mind it. Yeah, it felt like I don't know, like what's the Poseidon or something? One of those characters. Felt a bit different to the normal cup.
And just finally, personally, for you, body's feeling good. I mean, you had a few issues with the no balls, but your rhythm as well going into today felt good. And looking forward, you have 5 test matches in 7 weeks.
Yeah, body feels great. 30 odd overs for the test, which is about where you'd like it. So I feel like I've got enough work in, but not overdone. Need to sort out the front foot, but rhythm felt better today. So I think we've got it sorted. We'll be good to go next week.
Patrick Cummins, congratulations.
Thank you. Cheers, mate.